Hi, I'm Liz with Liz Toth Properties, powered by EXP Realty. I'm a residential real estate agent in Raleigh, North Carolina. And today is video 2 of my buyer series. So for the month of February, I'm releasing 2 videos a week, every week, and it's all about the purchase process. This video series is geared towards first-time home buyers, or if you haven't bought a home in a really long time, or if you have purchased a home recently and just need a refresher, it might be helpful for you as well. So earlier I did a video all about home ownership. Today's video is the entire buying process that a buyer is going to go through when they're purchasing a home. This is specific to North Carolina, so we have some things that are unique in our area versus other states. So if you're thinking about moving to Raleigh from another state, this might be helpful for you as well. I'm going to share my screen, and again, we're going to go through the entire process that a buyer goes through when they're purchasing a home. So here we go. All right, so this is basically the entire process that a buyer is going to go through when they purchase a home. So step 1 is selecting a real estate agent. You're going to want to find real estate agents, check their reviews, interview them, find someone who you like and who you want to work with, because you are hiring this person to help you with the largest financial purchase that you're probably ever going to make. So it's going to be important that you find the right real estate agent from the start. Hopefully that agent is me. But once you select a real estate agent, when I start working with folks, the next step in the process is for them to work with a lender, and I have local lenders that I work with all the time that I can connect you with. But I usually recommend connecting with either one of my recommended lenders, or if they have someone specific, that buyer has someone specific they like to work with, connect with your lender, go through the process to get pre-approved. So getting pre-approved is like you're submitting everything, your tax returns, all that stuff. It's more than just checking the credit and answering some questions over the phone. So pre-approval is going to be very important in the process. So once you have that, it will help you identify what you can afford, and that will help determine what kind of homes we're going to go look at. So once you have that, then we're going to analyze your needs and wants, and I'll do another video about needs and wants in a home, but you're going to analyze your needs and wants, and then we're going to put together a search, and we're going to start getting out and about and looking at homes that come on the market. So that's this step right here, select and view properties. So let's say we look at properties over a couple of weeks, you find the home, we're going to write an offer to purchase. So I get a bunch of information from you. Our offer to purchase is 17 pages long, and I do like to go through it with buyers to make sure that they know what they're signing. Because one of the key things to know in North Carolina, and I think this is true for most states, but I don't know because I only practice real estate in North Carolina, but in North Carolina, all properties are sold as is. Sellers are not obligated to make any repairs or give money in lieu of repairs. So again, we write the offer to purchase. I get all the terms from the buyer. We talk through comps, what you want to purchase, what you want the purchase price to be, when you want to close, your due diligence date, all that stuff, put that together, go through the offer in detail so everybody understands what they're signing, and then we submit that to the seller. When we submit an offer to purchase to the seller, we also have to include the property disclosures. So you review and sign property disclosures. We also need to send your pre-approval letter as well so that the seller can see, hey, this person is pre-approved to purchase this home that they're making an offer on. Then we go back and forth. Sometimes offers can be accepted as written. It just depends on the situation. Sometimes there's multiple offers, so you have to go in with your highest and best. And then sometimes you'll negotiate back and forth with the seller. So I represent you, obviously. The list agent will represent the seller, and we kind of go back and forth, and we work on terms and kind of get everything nailed down to where it's going to work for the buyer, it's going to work for the seller, and we officially go under contract. When you go under contract, so the contract is accepted, the money that is due right away is the due diligence fee. I'll talk a little bit more about what the due diligence fee is in a second, but basically in a nutshell, that is non-refundable money that is paid to the seller. So if you back out of the contract, your due diligence fee, the seller gets to keep that. When you get all the way through to the end of the purchase and you're closing on the home, that due diligence fee comes back to you as a credit. It's basically a part of your deposit. So if we're going under contract, I'm on the phone with the buyer right away, trying to coordinate getting that due diligence check and getting it delivered to the seller. Also, if you're putting an earnest money deposit down, I'm going to be getting that check as well. And we deliver that to the attorney, and the attorney will hold that until close. Then we start the process to go through basically removing all the contingencies. So you're going to get the property appraised. You're going to get an inspection. The most common inspections that we do here are home inspection, pest inspection. So we're looking for wood destroying pests like termites, carpenter bees, things like that, and a radon test. We do have radon here in North Carolina. That surprises some people who move here from other areas, but we do. I do recommend a radon test as well. You're going to go through the process of obtaining your mortgage financing. So in addition to getting the appraisal, you're going to go through underwriting. You're going to be providing a lot of stuff to the lender. The lender is going to ask you for a lot of stuff during this time period. And it may be annoying, but that's just part of the process. There's no way around it. So you're going to be going through the process of getting your mortgage. We conduct our inspections. We see if there's anything that needs to be repaired. Again, I remind buyers all the time, homes are sold as is. Sellers are not obligated to make repairs or give money in lieu of repairs, but that doesn't mean we can't ask for repairs. So if there are things that you want repaired, I always try to focus on things that are safety items. So something that might burn down the house. One of the common things that I see is like the lint from the dryer has built up. That's a fire hazard. So that's something we would definitely want to ask the seller to fix. They may fix it, they may not. So that's something to be aware of. So once we get through all the inspections, I go through each inspection. So the home inspection, we look at the termite report, and we look at the radon test, and we go talk through every item, and we figure out, what do you want to ask for, or do you want to ask for money in lieu of repairs? And that's the second round of negotiations when you're under contract or when you're buying a home here in North Carolina. You're negotiating for repairs or money in lieu of repairs. Once we get through that and all that's resolved and signed off on, if the seller agrees to do a couple of repairs, both parties sign documents stating that this is what you're going to do, and you agree to do that before close. Then the attorney is going to be conducting the title search. So they're basically going to be looking for any clouds on the title. So is there any gaps in the chain of ownership over the course of however old the house is? If it's 30 years old, they're going to go back as far as they can and just make sure that no one can ever come and knock on your door 2 years after you move in and say, hey, I have a claim to this property. So that is what the title search is. And they also obtain title insurance as a part of this process too. Then we get to the point where your due diligence period expires. So I'll talk more about the due diligence period, but that's basically when you do all your inspections, your appraisal, we negotiate repairs. The attorney is conducting the title search. You're going to get a property survey done during this time as well, because you want to make sure there's no encroachments on the property. So this is a period of time. It could be anywhere from a week to 3 weeks. It depends on the situation. There's not a standard time, just like there's not a standard due diligence fee. It just depends on the situation. If there's multiple offers, you're going to have a higher due diligence fee and a shorter due diligence period. And we're going to have to hustle to really get everything done during that due diligence period. So once the due diligence period expires, your earnest money deposit, remember you have two deposits, due diligence fee, which gets paid to the seller, earnest money deposit, which gets paid to the closing attorney and held until close. Once that due diligence period expires, your earnest money is now non-refundable. During that due diligence period, what you're ultimately paying for with that due diligence fee is you're paying the seller to take the home off the market, let you do all of your inspections, and to back out for any or no reason at all. This means like 2 days after you go under contract, you could say, hey, I've changed my mind. I don't want to buy the house anymore. You can back out of the contract. You lose that due diligence fee, as I mentioned, that you paid to the seller, but you'll get your earnest money back. So if you paid $2,000 due diligence fee to the seller, you put $10,000 in earnest money, you're going to lose the $2,000, you get the $10,000 back. Now, once the due diligence period expires, now you're going to lose the $10,000 as well. But I'm working with you through this process. We usually know well before the due diligence period ends whether or not you're going to move forward with the purchase of the home. Once that due diligence period ends, we're coming up to closing. So this is where we have, the seller or the attorney is going to send out a statement. It's going to detail out all your closing costs. So you're going to have a dollar amount at the very bottom, and that's the dollar amount that you have to wire to the attorney. And all the attorneys here in North Carolina want you to wire funds. I think it's anything over $10,000 has to be wired. So the attorney will send via secure email, because there is a lot of wire fraud today. instructions for wiring the funds to the attorney's trust account, so that they will have that money in hand when we go to close. We will also schedule a final walkthrough, and we'll verify repairs. So if the seller did agree to repairs, I'm asking the list agent, hey, provide a receipt and photos. So I'll give an example. Recently, a ceiling fan wasn't working. So this list agent sent a video of the ceiling fan working along with the invoice for the repair. And so that's how we verified that the repairs were complete. So we verify the repairs. You set up utilities, so I'll provide you the utility companies as well. You're going to set up your utilities to start the day of close. So if you're closing on March 31st, you have to have the utilities set to start in your name on that day. If you do the next day, the seller has probably already terminated their utilities, saying, hey, it's going to end on March 31st. So on April 1st, if you don't have those utilities set up, the utility companies will come and turn off the utilities, and then there's usually a fee to get them turned back on. So you want to make sure you set up the utilities for the day of close. Again, I remind you, I'm with you through this whole process, so I'll remind you of all these things. I'll provide you the utility companies, so you don't have to worry about remembering everything. We do a final walkthrough right before close. So if we have a 10 o'clock appointment for you to sign at the attorney's office, we're going to go walk through that house at 9 o'clock, and we're going to drive from the house to the attorney. You'll sign your paperwork, and then the attorney will proceed to record. The reason for this is I like to do it right before we go to the attorney's office, because, if we go the night before and something happens overnight and we don't go back to the house and catch it, you've signed the paper, the deed records, that's now your problem. So we want to catch anything that there is before you take ownership of that property. So if an example would be if we go to the final walkthrough and the water heater started leaking all over the garage, we're going to go back to the seller and say, hey, we're going to delay closing until this issue gets resolved. So once we do the final walkthrough, you sign the paperwork, the attorney submits to record the deed in the county. You cannot get a key to the property until the deed has recorded. So don't set up the movers for, if we have a closing appointment at 10 a.m., don't set up the movers for 10:30. You're going to want to set them up for either much later in the day or the next day, because you may not have the key by 10:30, for example. It takes usually a couple hours to record. Attorneys do e-record, but basically you're still getting in line, and there may be, who knows, 20 people ahead of you in that e-recording line that are needing to be recorded first before you. So don't plan on getting the key at closing unless you're doing new construction. And then once the deed has recorded, you get the key, you can take possession of your home, you can start moving in, painting, cleaning, whatever you want to do. The home is now yours, and that is the process. So what should I budget for? Okay, so deposits. So, this really depends. The due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit really depends on the situation. It used to be like, hey, it could be 2% of the purchase price combined. Now, if there's multiple offers, the due diligence and earnest money are going to be higher dollar amounts. Sometimes people will put all their money into the due diligence fee and to show the seller how serious they are. This is information on inspections and appraisals, so approximate costs for everything. Most of the homes in the areas where I sell don't have septic, well, pool. So those would be inspections that you may or may not need. And anytime you would need something like a structural inspection is if the home inspector caught something and it was a concern. He might say, or she might say, hey, you should probably have a structural engineer take a look at this. And structural inspections can be pretty expensive. I mean, they can run $600, $700, $800. So that's something to just be aware of. That's why at showings, we always walk around the outside of the house and we look for cracks or things that may be concerning before you actually go under contract. Information on appraisals, costs for surveys, and then settlement fees. So if you're getting a mortgage, you're going to be paying about 2 to 3% of the purchase price in loan fees as well. And that's going to be a part of your closing costs. So that's part of that dollar amount that the attorney gives you that you're going to be wiring to his or her trust account for the closing. Due diligence. So I talked a little bit about this. So this is, I think, something a little bit more unique to North Carolina. I've heard other states do something similar. Other states don't do this at all. But this is due upon acceptance of the contract. So when the seller is signing that contract, I'm coordinating with the buyer to get the due diligence fee either delivered. I'm either picking it up, dropping it off. I'm trying to get that check, and I'm trying to get it to the seller as quickly as possible. The amount of money, it just depends. Again, if there's multiple offers, it's going to be a larger dollar amount. The seller is going to take that check. They are going to deposit it. So you just need to have the money in the account. So if you're writing a check for due diligence for $15,000, you want to make sure that money is in your account. You're paying for the seller to take the home off the market, as I mentioned. It does get credited back to you at closing, but you lose that money if you terminate the contract. So it is non-refundable if you back out. The amount of time varies. You do all your inspections, research, appraisal on the property. We negotiate any repairs. You go through the loan process to make sure the house appraises and that you're fully approved for a mortgage. So that is the due diligence fee. And again, something that's kind of unique to North Carolina here. So hopefully that information is helpful. That is the entire buying process. If you want to stay tuned, next week we're going to be talking about financing options. So obtaining a mortgage for purchasing a home. Again, this is a video series, hopefully helpful to first-time home buyers or those that need a refresher. If you have questions on purchasing a home in the Raleigh area, don't hesitate to reach out. If you want to stay tuned for more buyer videos, you can check out my YouTube channel, Welcome to Raleigh. Hit the little bell, be notified every time a new video is uploaded. There's also a lot of great information on that channel as well. There's community tours, city tours, there's more buyer tips, seller tips as well if you have to sell a home in order to purchase. I look forward to talking to you again soon, and I hope you have a great day.